Alright, let's talk. We hear this word, cancer, and it sounds big and scary like a monster hiding under the bed. But what is it really? Think of your body like a massive, bustling city like Lagos or Johannesburg. This city is made up of trillions of tiny workers called cells. These cells have jobs to do. Some build your bones, others carry oxygen, and some help you digest that delicious jollof rice. They have a set of instructions like a manager telling them when to work, when to rest, and when to make new workers. It's a very organized system that keeps you healthy and strong. A perfectly running machine that most of the time, we don't even have to think about. Now, cancer is what happens when some of these workers go a little rogue. Imagine one of the cells decides it doesn't want to listen to the manager anymore. It ignores the instructions and starts making copies of itself over and over and over again, like a broken photocopier that just won't stop. These rogue cells don't do any useful work. They just multiply and form a crowd, which we call a tumor. They take up space, they use up energy, and they can start causing problems for the hardworking, normal cells around them. It's like having a group of people who show up to the construction site, but instead of building, they just stand around and get in everyone's way. So why should we care about preventing it? Well, because prevention is always better than cure. It's like fixing a small leak in your roof before the whole house floods during a rainstorm. It's much easier, cheaper, and less stressful to stop the problem before it starts. In many of our communities, getting treatment for cancer can be incredibly difficult and expensive. Hospitals might be far away, and the costs can be overwhelming for any family. So the smartest thing we can do, the most powerful move we have, is to learn about what causes these cells to go rogue in the first place, and then try our best to avoid those things. It's about taking control of our own health, right here, right now. This isn't about being scared, it's about being smart. It's about being informed. Knowledge is power, and in this case, it's the power to protect ourselves and the people we love. By understanding the risks, we can make small, simple changes in our daily lives that can make a huge difference down the line. We can become the guardians of our own bodies, making sure our internal city of cells runs smoothly for many, many years to come. It's a journey we can all take together, looking out for one another and sharing what we learn along the way, building a healthier future for everyone. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty. What are these things that can mess with our cells? Well, one of the biggest and baddest of them all is something we breathe in every single day without even thinking about it. Car exhaust fumes. I'm serious. This stuff is probably the most widespread carcinogenic agent in the world. A carcinogen, by the way, is just a fancy word for something that can cause cancer. Think of it as a bad influence, the kind of friend your mother warned you about, who convinces your good cells to start making bad decisions. Car exhaust is that friend, and it's everywhere. Imagine you're walking down a busy street in Nairobi or Accra. You see the cars, the matatus, the boda-bodas, all chugging along. What you see is the black smoke, but what you don't see are the tiny invisible particles and dangerous gases mixed in that smoke. It's a toxic cocktail of chemicals like benzene, arsenic, and formaldehyde. These sound like things from a mad scientist's lab, but they are floating in the air we breathe. When you inhale these fumes, those tiny poisons go deep into your lungs and can get into your bloodstream, traveling all over your body and knocking on the doors of your healthy cells, trying to corrupt them. It's an unequal fight because our bodies weren't designed to handle this kind of chemical assault. For thousands of years, humans breathed clean air. But in the last century, we filled our environment with these fumes. Our lungs have little cleaning mechanisms, but they can get overwhelmed by the sheer volume of pollution in a modern city. It's like trying to sweep a floor while a dozen people are walking in with muddy boots. You just can't keep up. Over time, constant exposure to these chemicals can damage the DNA inside our cells, which is the instruction manual I was talking about. Once the manual is damaged, the cell doesn't know what to do and can start multiplying out of control. This is not some distant abstract problem. It's a daily reality for millions of us. We stand by the road waiting for a bus. Our children play near streets, and vendors sell their goods right next to flowing traffic, breathing this stuff in for hours on end. We've gotten so used to the smell and the sight of exhaust smoke that we've stopped seeing it as the danger it is. We need to start thinking of car exhaust fumes as a silent killer, an invisible enemy that is waging a war on our health without us even noticing. Recognizing the enemy is the first step to fighting back and protecting ourselves from its harmful effects. So, we've established that car fumes are basically poison clouds floating around. What can we actually do about it? It can feel impossible to avoid, especially when your whole life is built around roads and traffic. But there are small, practical things we can do to reduce how much of this poison we breathe in. It's about playing a smarter game of defense. For starters, if you're walking, try to take a side street instead of the main road. Even moving 10 or 20 meters away from the direct line of traffic can make a significant difference in the concentration of fumes you inhale. It's like standing away from the fire to avoid the smoke. Another simple trick is to pay attention to your surroundings, especially when you're waiting for transportation. We often stand right on the curb, where the buses and cars pull up and release a big puff of exhaust right in our faces. Instead, try standing back a bit. If there's a shop or a building with a doorway, stand there while you wait. When the bus arrives, you can step forward. This little bit of distance can save your lungs from a direct hit of the most concentrated fumes. It's a small change in habit, but think of it as dodging a bullet. Over weeks, months, and years, dodging all those bullets adds up to some serious protection for your body. For those of us who spend a lot of time in traffic, like drivers or street vendors, the challenge is even bigger. If you're a driver, something as simple as keeping your windows rolled up when you're in a heavy traffic jam can help. Yes, it can get hot, but it prevents the exhaust from the car in front of you from flowing directly into your cabin. If you're a vendor, think about the placement of your stall. Can you position it so the wind blows the fumes away from you, not towards you? Maybe you can use a simple cloth mask. It's not a perfect solution, but it can help filter out some of the bigger, nasty particles. And let's talk about the kids. Children are much more vulnerable because their bodies are still developing, and they breathe faster than adults, meaning they take in more air and more pollution relative to their body size. We need to be extra careful with them. Try to make sure their schools and playgrounds are not right next to a super busy highway. When you're walking with them, hold their hand and keep them on the side that is further away from the traffic. These are not about creating fear, but about creating a shield. We are the protectors of our families, and these small, mindful actions are how we can actively protect them from this invisible danger every single day. Okay, let's move from the air we breathe to the food we eat. We all love our food. A hot, steaming plate of ugali and sukuma wiki, a delicious bowl of waki, or some freshly fried plantains. It's the fuel that keeps us going. But how we handle that hot food matters. A lot. There's a new habit that has crept into our lives all across the continent. Serving hot food in plastic bags or plastic containers. You see it everywhere. You buy food from a street vendor, and they scoop it straight from the hot pot into a thin plastic bag. It seems convenient, it seems clean, but it is one of the most dangerous things we can do to our health. Here's the problem. Plastic is a chemical product. It's not natural. It's made in a factory from petroleum and a bunch of other chemicals. When plastic is cool, it's relatively stable, but when you apply heat to it, the plastic starts to break down. The heat makes the chemicals in the plastic sweat or leach out. And where do those chemicals go? They go directly into your hot food. So, you're not just eating your rice and stew, you're also eating a side of invisible plastic chemicals. It's like adding a secret, poisonous ingredient that you didn't ask for and definitely don't want. Think about it this way. You would never deliberately sprinkle a little bit of crushed plastic on your food as a spice, right? That sounds crazy. But when we put hot food into a plastic bag, we are essentially letting the plastic melt into our meal. We can't see it and we can't taste it, which makes it even more sinister. These chemicals are foreign to our bodies. Our digestive system doesn't know what to do with them, so they can build up inside us over time, causing damage to our cells and disrupting the delicate balance of our internal systems. This isn't a small risk. It's a direct pathway for harmful substances to enter our bodies. This habit is relatively new. Our grandparents and their parents never did this. They had safer, smarter ways of handling food. The widespread use of cheap, disposable plastic for everything is a modern problem that has created a modern health crisis. The convenience of a plastic bag is not worth the long-term risk of cancer and other diseases. We have to unlearn this dangerous habit and go back to the methods that we know are safe. It's time to break up with plastic, especially when it comes to the hot, delicious food that is meant to nourish us, not poison us. We have to treat our food with the respect it deserves. So what are these mysterious chemicals that escape from hot plastic? One of the most notorious groups of these chemicals is called dioxins. Now, that's another big scientific-sounding word, but honestly, the concept is simple. Dioxins are highly toxic chemical compounds. They are known as persistent organic pollutants, which means they stick around for a long time in the environment, and well, in our bodies. They don't break down easily. Once they get inside you, they like to stay, setting up camp in your body's fat tissues and, accumulating over the years. They are truly the worst kind of house guest, the one who shows up uninvited, eats all your food, and never ever leaves. Scientists have studied dioxins extensively, and the verdict is in: they are bad news. The World Health Organization classifies certain dioxins as known human carcinogens. This isn't a guess or a maybe, it's a scientific fact. They are directly linked to causing cancer, but that's not all they do. These chemicals are also known to interfere with our hormones, which are the messengers that regulate everything from our growth to our mood to our ability to have children. Dioxins can damage the immune system, making us more vulnerable to infections. They can also cause developmental problems in children. It's a whole list of terrible things packed into one invisible chemical. The link between hot plastic and dioxins is clear. When you put hot, oily, or fatty food into a plastic container or bag, the heat and fats act as magnets, pulling the dioxins and other chemicals like phthalates and BPA right out of the plastic and into your meal. That hot stew or that greasy sausage is the perfect vehicle for transporting these poisons from the plastic wrapper into your stomach. It happens every single time. It might be a tiny amount each time, but if you eat food from hot plastic every day, or even a few times a week, those tiny amounts add up to a dangerous level over time. It's a slow, silent poisoning. We have to understand that this is not an exaggeration. It is a real and present danger in our daily lives. The convenience of taking away food in a plastic bag comes at a very high price, a price paid by our health. We are unknowingly contaminating our own food chain. The very food that should give us life and strength is being turned into a carrier for cancer-causing agents. We owe it to ourselves and our children to stop this. We need to kick dioxins out of our kitchens and off our dinner tables for good. The first step is to recognize them for what they are: an uninvited and deadly guest. So if we're breaking up with plastic, what's a better alternative? We don't have to look far. In fact, we can look to nature and to our own traditions. For centuries across Africa, Asia, and Latin America, people have used one of the most brilliant, natural, and safe food wrappers in existence: leaves. Specifically, banana leaves or plantain leaves. These large, sturdy, and flexible leaves are like nature's very own Tupperware. They are waterproof, they can handle heat, and they don't leach any dangerous chemicals into your food. In fact, they can even add a subtle, pleasant aroma to the meal. It's an upgrade in every possible way. Think about the genius of it. A banana leaf is completely organic. When you're done with it, you can just toss it on the ground or in a compost pile, and it will decompose and go back to the earth, enriching the soil. It creates zero waste. Compare that to a plastic bag, which will sit in a landfill or clog a waterway for hundreds of years, slowly releasing toxins into the environment. Using banana leaves is not just good for our personal health, it's good for the health of our planet. It's a solution that works in perfect harmony with nature, rather than against it. It's a system our ancestors perfected long before plastic was even invented. Using leaves for food is a tradition that is still alive in many parts of our continent, but it's being pushed aside by the cheap convenience of plastic. We need to revive it and celebrate it. Think of kenke in Ghana, often wrapped in corn husks, or certain dishes in Uganda and Nigeria wrapped in banana leaves for steaming. These aren't just quaint old-fashioned practices. They are scientifically sound methods for safe food handling. By choosing a vendor who uses banana leaves, or by asking for it specifically, we can create demand for these safer practices. We can show that we value our health more than cheap convenience. Bringing back the leaf is a powerful statement. It says that we respect our food, we respect our bodies, and we respect our environment. It's a simple switch that connects us back to our heritage and protects our future. Let's encourage our local food vendors to make the switch. Maybe the leaves cost a little bit more than a plastic bag, but what is the cost of our health? It is priceless. Let's champion nature's perfect packaging and make the banana leaf a common sight on our streets and in our kitchens once again. It's a delicious, smart, and healthy choice. Beyond the brilliance of banana leaves, there are other traditional and perfectly safe options for handling our food that we need to embrace again. Let's talk about metal and glass. Our parents and grandparents had them. Think about the sturdy aluminum or iron pots and dishes. Think about the simple metal tiffin carriers, with their stackable compartments, that people have used for generations to carry a full, hot meal to work or school. These materials are trusted, true, and most importantly, they are inert when they come into contact with hot food. They don't release a cocktail of chemicals into your meal. They just hold your food safely. Metal containers are durable and reusable. You buy one good set of metal dishes or a tiffin carrier, and it can last you for years, maybe even a lifetime. This is the opposite of the disposable culture that plastic promotes. Yes, you have to wash them, but that is a small price to pay for protecting your health. It's also much better for your wallet in the long run. Instead of paying for a new plastic bag every day, you use the container you already own. It's a simple act of sustainability and self-respect. It says that your meal and your health are worthy of a proper container, not a flimsy disposable piece of trash. Glass jars are another fantastic option. Many of us already buy products that come in glass jars, like jams or sauces. Instead of throwing those jars away, we can wash them and reuse them to store or carry food. Glass is one of the safest materials for food because it is non-porous and impermeable. Nothing gets in and nothing gets out. It's perfect for storing leftovers in the fridge or even for carrying certain types of food. It's all about adopting a mindset of reduce, reuse, recycle. Before you throw something away, think about how it could be given a new purpose in your kitchen. The key here is common sense. We need to question the modern habits that have been sold to us as convenient. Is it truly convenient to risk your health for the sake of not washing a dish? Is it progress to wrap our nourishing food in a material that poisons it? The old ways were often based on generations of wisdom. They were sustainable, safe, and healthy. By bringing back metal containers, glass jars, and even ceramic bowls, we are not going backwards. We are moving forward to a smarter, healthier future by choosing timeless solutions that have always worked and will always be safer than chemical-laden plastics. Now, all this information can feel like a lot. You might be thinking, I'm just one person, what difference can I make? The answer is, a huge difference. Change doesn't start with governments or big corporations. It starts with us. It starts in our homes, in our kitchens, and in our daily conversations. Every time you make a conscious choice to protect your health, you are casting a vote for a healthier future. Every time you refuse a plastic bag for your hot food and use your own container instead, you are making a powerful statement. You are showing the people around you that there is a better way. This change is contagious, in a good way. When your friends, family, and neighbors see you carrying your own metal tiffin or asking the food vendor to use a banana leaf, they will get curious. They will ask questions. And that is your opportunity to share what you know. Explain to them, simply and clearly, why you are doing it. Tell them about the dangers of hot plastic and the poison of car fumes. You don't need to be a doctor or a scientist. You just need to be a concerned citizen, a caring friend, a loving parent. Your personal actions can inspire a ripple effect that spreads throughout your entire community. We can also work together to make a bigger impact. Talk to your local food vendors. Don't just lecture them. Have a conversation. Explain your concerns about plastic and suggest alternatives like banana leaves, or even offering a small discount to customers who bring their own containers. Many vendors are just trying to make a living and may not even be aware of the dangers. By educating them and showing them that there is a customer demand for safer options, we can help them make the switch. Imagine if an entire market decided to go plastic-free for hot foods. That would be a massive victory for public health. This is about building a culture of health and awareness. It's about looking out for each other. When we see children playing too close to a busy, fume-filled road, we can gently guide them to a safer spot. When we cook for community events, we can make a point of using safe, non-plastic serving dishes. These are small acts of collective care. We are all in this together. The health of our community depends on the individual choices of all its members. By making these small changes, we are not just protecting ourselves, we are building a stronger, more resilient, and healthier community for generations to come. So here we are. We've talked about the big, scary word cancer, but we've broken it down. We've unmasked some of the silent killers that are hiding in plain sight, the exhaust fumes on our streets, and the plastic that touches our food. It's easy to feel overwhelmed, but I hope what you take away from this is not fear, but a feeling of power. You now have the knowledge to see these dangers, and you have the simple, practical tools to fight back. Your health is the most valuable thing you will ever own. It is your true wealth, more precious than any amount of money or possessions, and it's worth protecting with everything you've got. The journey to a healthier life is not about making massive, dramatic changes overnight. It's about the small, consistent choices you make every single day. It's choosing to stand a little further back from the road. It's saying no, thank you to the plastic bag and using your own container. It's teaching your children why it's important to respect their bodies and the food they eat. These little actions are like planting seeds. You may not see the tree immediately, but with time and care, they will grow into a strong, shady canopy of good health that will protect you and your family for years. Remember, you are not alone in this fight. Look around you, your neighbors, your friends, your family. We are all on the same team. Share this knowledge. Start conversations. Encourage one another. Let's make being healthy a community project. Let's celebrate the vendors who switched to banana leaves. Let's make carrying a reusable container a cool and normal thing to do. Together we can turn the tide against these preventable diseases. We have the power to change our habits, and in doing so, we have the power to change our destiny and the health of our continent. So let's do it. Let's start today. Let's be the generation that saw the silent killers and decided to speak up. Let's be the generation that chose tradition over toxic convenience, that chose health over habit. Let's protect our beautiful, vibrant, and resilient bodies from the poisons of the modern world. Your life is precious. Your health is your right. Own it. Protect it. And let's build a healthier, cancer-free Africa, one smart choice at a time. We can do this. I know we can.